The Galactic Arena buzzed with anticipation, a deafening roar of alien voices filling the colossal structure. The arena itself, an engineering marvel, stretched wide and gleamed with alien metals that shimmered under artificial suns. Species from across the galaxy filled the stands, their bioluminescent bodies, chitinous shells, and metallic limbs creating a kaleidoscope of color and texture. All of them were here for the same reason: to watch Earth's representative meet their humiliating defeat. Earth, a backwater planet in galactic terms, had been thrust into the games as part of the terms of its reluctant membership in the Galactic Union. Each world was required to send its best warrior to prove its worth or risk subjugation. For Earth, this was no mere game, it was survival. Yet as the towering alien warriors prepared their weapons, Earth's chosen champion emerged from the shadows. A hush fell over the crowd. The figure that stepped into the arena was unimpressive at first glance. Cloaked and hooded, they moved with quiet grace, their steps barely audible. Slung across their back was what seemed to be a primitive weapon, a bow, carved from dark wood, with a quiver of arrows fletched with black feathers. In a galaxy of plasma rifles, graviton blades, and molecular disintegrators, the sight of such a weapon was laughable. The mockery began immediately. "Is that a toy?" One alien barked, its voice a guttural snarl. "Earthlings must truly have nothing to offer," another jeered, its gelatinous form quivering with amusement. The champion stopped at the center of the arena, standing motionless. They didn't react to the ridicule, their head tilting slightly as if studying the crowd. Their silence only fueled the derision. The announcer, a mechanical being with a voice like grinding metal, boomed over the noise. "And representing Earth, a hunter? Acha! What primitive nonsense have the humans brought us today?" A figure emerged from the opposite gate, an alien gladiator towering nearly 3 meters tall. It was a creature of muscle and machine, its left arm replaced with a plasma cannon and its eyes glowing red with targeting systems. The alien raised its weapon, the cannon's barrel charging with a low hum. The crowd erupted in cheers, already anticipating a quick, brutal end to the contest. The announcer's voice rose again. "Let the games begin." The alien gladiator charged, its heavy footsteps shaking the ground. The humans stood perfectly still. At the last possible moment, their hand moved, a blur of motion as the bow was raised and an arrow loosed in a single fluid movement. The arrow streaked through the air, impossibly fast, and struck the alien's plasma cannon. Sparks erupted as the weapon sputtered and died, its power core ruptured. The crowd's jeers faltered, replaced by murmurs of disbelief. The alien hesitated, its advantage gone. The human moved again, firing 2 more arrows in rapid succession. The first pierced the alien's shoulder, disabling its mechanical arm. The second embedded itself in the ground, just centimeters from the alien's foot, a warning. The arena fell silent. For the first time, the crowd began to wonder, had they underestimated Earth? The alien gladiator snarled, its pride wounded as much as its body. Its mechanical arm sparked uselessly, but its organic limbs were far from weak. With a guttural roar, it charged again, claws extended and eyes blazing with fury. The ground trembled beneath its weight, but the archer remained calm, knocking another arrow with steady precision. The shot was loosed, aimed not at the alien itself but at the ceiling above. The arrow struck a support beam, releasing a cascade of dust and debris that rained down between the charging alien and the archer. The brief disruption gave the archer enough time to reposition, their movements swift and deliberate, as if anticipating every move of their opponent. The alien barreled through the falling debris, swinging its massive claws wildly. Each strike gouged deep furrows into the arena floor, narrowly missing its target. The archer danced around the blows, their steps light and deliberate, each movement conserving energy. A sudden feint from the alien forced the archer into a corner, the crowd roaring as the massive creature lunged for what seemed to be a final blow. The archer didn't hesitate. They ducked low, rolling beneath the alien's outstretched claws, and fired another arrow at point-blank range. This time, the shot was aimed directly at the alien's exposed knee joint. A metallic crack echoed through the arena as the joint buckled. The alien collapsed to one knee, roaring in pain and frustration. The archer had no time to celebrate the small victory. The creature's rage was now at its peak. It slammed its good arm into the ground, sending a shockwave rippling through the arena floor. The archer staggered but regained balance quickly, their eyes scanning the surroundings for an opportunity. The alien, wounded but not defeated, began to adapt. It grabbed a shard of debris from the earlier collapse, wielding it like a club. With a guttural snarl, it swung the makeshift weapon, the sheer force of the strike creating a gust of wind that knocked the archer's hood back. For the first time, the audience caught a glimpse of their face, calm, focused, and entirely unshaken. The archer moved swiftly, circling their opponent and loosing 2 more arrows in quick succession. The first arrow struck the alien's hand, forcing it to drop the improvised weapon. The second lodged itself in the creature's upper arm, rendering it unable to strike effectively. The precision of the shots was undeniable, and the crowd began to murmur again, their disbelief giving way to reluctant admiration. The alien gladiator, now heavily injured and visibly exhausted, attempted one final, desperate charge. It roared with all the fury it could muster, launching itself at the archer with a reckless abandon that left no room for defense. The archer waited, perfectly still, until the very last second. Then, with an almost casual motion, they fired one final arrow. The shot struck the alien's chest, embedding itself just above its heart. The creature froze mid-charge, its body shuddering as it fell to the ground with a heavy thud. The arena went silent for a moment before erupting into cheers and gasps. The archer lowered their bow and stepped back, their face impassive as they surveyed the defeated opponent. Earth's champion had done the impossible once again. The arena floor was cleared quickly, and the next opponent emerged, a predator from a species known for their cunning and advanced technology. This one stood taller than the last, its body sleek and agile, covered in shimmering armor that bent the light around it, rendering it nearly invisible. In its 4 hands, it wielded plasma blades that hissed with energy, the sound alone enough to send shivers through the crowd. The archer remained still, watching as the creature stalked closer, its form flickering in and out of sight. It didn't rush in like the previous challenger. This one was careful, calculating, circling its prey. The crowd roared its approval, sensing a more tactical battle ahead. Without warning, the creature vanished entirely, its cloaking field fully activated. The archer's eyes narrowed, their hand instinctively moving to the quiver. An arrow was drawn, but not loosed. They turned slowly, head tilting slightly as if listening for something imperceptible to the audience. The first strike came from behind, a blur of motion and the searing heat of a plasma blade slicing through the air. The archer ducked just in time, rolling forward and spinning to face the attacker, but the creature had already disappeared again. A faint shimmer in the distance was the only clue to its location. The archer moved deliberately, scanning the arena floor. Their movement seemed almost too slow, the crowd growing restless, unsure if the human had finally met their match. A flicker of light to the left, another to the right. The archer didn't react to either, their focus entirely on the ground beneath them. When the creature struck again, it came from above, leaping with blades outstretched. This time, the archer was ready. A sudden movement, an arrow released straight into the air, and the creature's cloaking flickered violently as it crashed to the ground. The audience gasped, seeing the arrow embedded in one of its shoulder joints, disrupting its cloaking field. Now partially visible, the predator snarled, its movements faster and more erratic. It rushed forward, swinging its plasma blades in a deadly flurry. The archer moved with precision, dodging each strike by the narrowest margins, their bow twisting and turning as if it were an extension of their body. The predator's speed forced the archer to retreat, but their movements weren't random. Each step back brought the creature closer to a specific part of the arena, where the debris from earlier battles still lay scattered. The archer loosed 2 more arrows, not at the creature itself but at the ground around it. The arrows embedded themselves into the arena floor with a faint hum, unnoticed by the predator as it closed the distance. When the predator lunged for what it thought would be a killing blow, the archer moved like lightning. They stepped aside, grabbed a fallen shard of metal from the ground, and struck one of the embedded arrows. A chain reaction erupted, the shockwave from the arrow's hidden payload destabilizing the ground beneath the predator's feet. Caught off guard, the creature stumbled, its cloaking device sparking as it tried and failed to activate. The archer didn't hesitate. 3 arrows flew in quick succession, each one finding its mark. The first disarmed the predator, the second pinned its leg to the ground, and the third pierced the power core in its chest. The predator collapsed, its body twitching as the last remnants of its advanced technology sputtered and failed. The crowd erupted in a mix of cheers and stunned silence, the gravity of the archer's victory sinking in. The humans stepped back, their expression unreadable. It was clear now that Earth's champion wasn't just skilled, they were impossibly clever, using not just their own weaponry but the environment and their opponent's arrogance against them. A murmur rippled through the spectators, growing louder with each passing moment. For the first time, respect began to outweigh mockery. This was no fluke. The archer wasn't just surviving, they were winning. The final opponent emerged from the massive gates, each footstep shaking the arena like distant thunder. The reigning galactic champion was a hulking monstrosity of flesh and machine, towering over anything that had come before. Its body was encased in layered armor, gleaming black and gold, with reinforced plating that seemed impervious to even the most advanced weaponry. Energy pulsated from its core, and its eyes glowed a piercing crimson. Mounted on its shoulders were twin plasma cannons, while its massive arms ended in serrated claws capable of tearing through steel. The crowd erupted into a frenzy, their cheers deafening. This was what they had been waiting for, the moment where Earth's upstart champion would meet their inevitable defeat. Even those who had grown to respect the archer doubted they could overcome such overwhelming power. The archer stood motionless, their bow at their side. They studied the champion with the same calm intensity as before, their gaze tracing every joint, every mechanism, every potential weakness. The champion wasted no time with words. It raised one massive arm, and with a blinding flash, the plasma cannons fired. The archer moved just in time, the blast striking the ground where they had been standing. The explosion sent debris flying, the shockwave enough to unsteady even the most agile opponent. But the archer didn't falter. They rolled to the side, knocking an arrow mid-motion and releasing it in one fluid movement. The arrow struck the champion's chest and shattered harmlessly against its armor, the impact barely registering. The crowd roared with laughter and applause, their confidence in the champion unshaken. The archer, however, seemed undeterred. They moved again, faster now, loosing another arrow, then another. Each shot was precise, targeting the champion's joints and exposed mechanisms, but none penetrated the armor. The champion advanced relentlessly, each step a calculated show of force. It swung one massive claw, the air itself splitting with the force of the strike. The archer barely evaded, sliding beneath the arm and firing another arrow aimed at the champion's head. The arrow ricocheted off its helmet, falling uselessly to the ground. For a moment, it seemed as if the archer had no chance. The champion unleashed another volley from its plasma cannons, forcing the human to retreat further. The crowd's cheers grew louder, anticipating the end. But the archer wasn't running. They were leading the champion toward something. The archer's eyes flicked to the debris scattered across the arena, remnants of earlier battles. Their movements became more deliberate, each step calculated. The champion, oblivious to the subtle strategy, followed with mechanical precision, its confidence unwavering. The archer stopped suddenly, standing still in the center of the arena as the champion closed in. The massive opponent raised both arms, preparing a final, devastating blow. In that instant, the archer moved. With impossible speed, they fired a series of arrows in rapid succession. Each one struck a precise target, a pile of debris near the champion's feet, a reflective shard of metal positioned at an angle, and finally, a single arrow aimed at the champion's exposed energy core. The first arrow triggered a small explosion, destabilizing the ground beneath the champion. The second redirected the third arrow mid-flight, sending it straight into the glowing core at the champion's chest. There was a moment of stillness, a breath held by every spectator in the arena. Then, with a deafening roar, the champion's core overloaded. Its massive body convulsed, energy surging uncontrollably before the entire machine collapsed in a fiery explosion. The archer stood amidst the chaos, their silhouette framed by the dying sparks of the champion's defeat. The arena fell silent, the crowd unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Slowly, the silence gave way to a thunderous wave of applause and cheers, the sound echoing across the Colosseum. The Galactic Emperor rose from his seat, his expression one of awe and newfound respect. "Earth," he declared, his voice resonating across the arena, "has proven itself beyond question. Let no one doubt the resilience, ingenuity, and spirit of humanity again." The archer turned, their face calm and unreadable, and walked toward the exit without a word. Earth's champion had done more than win a battle. They had reshaped the galaxy's perception of humanity forever.